all the
I work at MIT OpenCourseWare. OpenCourseWare is a project where the university teaching materials are posted online for people to freely access, and it's posted in a kind of an open source fashion. When this movement started about 10 years ago, the thinking was, yeah, this is will be really useful for educators around the world, people who are teaching at community colleges and suddenly find themselves, oh my God, I've got to teach this subject I haven't thought about in 15 years, or graduate students who are TAing and looking for auxiliary problems to work with their students, and those kind of good bread and butter items. The thing that's happened over the last decade that was perhaps a little surprising, relative to the original intent, is how hungry people are as individuals to just keep learning all the time. The MIT OpenCourseWare site, roughly half of the visitors consider themselves just independent learners. I just want to learn more about this stuff. Why do they want to learn about this stuff? The reasons are as wide and as varied as there are people. The change that is developing in the world around that kind of activity has really picked up steam in the last few years. Going through this structured, traditional, I'm going to plant myself at a university for 4 years, for instance, and get this college degree, and then that sets me off on this path, and then and then I work. That's not the way the world is, right? And it hasn't been that way for a long time, but I think people are starting to come to grips with it and looking for tools to help them figure out what to do. One of the things that I think is really interesting about OpenCourseWare and all these online education things that are going online is it gives people, their individuals, some fantastic tools to kind of take control of that and do with it what they want. In a sense, they're improvising their own course of study. Nobody's standing there telling them, okay, first you take this, and then 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 you're done. It's a much more kind of fluid, flexible way of looking at how to learn stuff. And I think we're just scratching the surface, on how this is, how this may happen, decades from now. And of course, none of this is a substitute for the experience of actually being in the room with people. And I'll come back to how important it was for me to experience improvised music live as a thing made by people. I think there's a lot of work to be done in how people have that kind of personal, direct, engaged experience at the same time as they're checking out all this stuff online. There's definitely a recognition that this, quote, taking a course online or working through the course materials is not the same thing as actually studying with a group of students. I think we run into problems when we try to paint these things with too broad a brush. Learning how to write software through an online virtual education community experience works really differently right now than, say, learning how to play music. I'm sure there are people who will disagree and say, oh yeah, you can do all this music stuff online too. And I'll just say, well, just check out the results and tell me how it's going. Yeah.